What if Hulk came into Star Wars? The Republic science vessel Luminous Horizon drifted silently at the edge of wild space, its research arrays extended like metallic tendrils probing the darkness. Chief Science Officer Jalen Cray watched from the command deck as energy readings spiked across monitoring stations. The ship had been tracking anomalous hyperspace fractures for months, rare tears in the fabric of reality where the barriers between dimensions grew thin. Today they would attempt something unprecedented. Today they would reach through. Containment fields at maximum, reported Lieutenant Vosser, her Leku twitching with nervous energy. Quantum stabilizers holding at 90%. Cray nodded, stroking his silver beard. 30 years of research had led to this moment. The Republic Senate had authorized the mission despite objections from more conservative Jedi Masters who warned against tampering with forces beyond their understanding. But the potential knowledge to be gained, the secrets of parallel universes, the advancement of hyperspace technology, these were too valuable to ignore. "Begin the extraction sequence," Cray commanded. The great rings surrounding the ship began to rotate, gathering energy from the nearby stellar phenomenon. A beam of concentrated energy shot forth into the void, striking an invisible point where their instruments detected the weakest barrier between worlds. The ship groaned under the strain, as reality itself seemed to bend and distort before them. "Sir," Vosser called out, her voice rising with alarm, "something is coming through. Mass readings are off the charts." The view screen flickered with static as the sensors struggled to interpret what was happening. A swirling vortex formed at the focal point of their energy beam, a churning maelstrom of light and darkness, and then, without warning, the ship's systems overloaded. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks. Emergency alarms blared throughout the vessel. "Shut it! Down!" Cray shouted, but it was too late. A massive form hurtled through the vortex, trailing cosmic energy as it tumbled toward the research vessel. The last thing Cray saw before emergency protocols engaged was a green humanoid figure, muscles bulging impossibly beneath torn fabric, face contorted in a roar of primal rage that seemed to shake the very stars. The collision rocked the Luminous Horizon, knocking crew members from their stations and rupturing the outer hull. As emergency containment fields struggled to maintain atmosphere, Cray pulled himself to a viewport. He watched in horror as the green being crashed through multiple decks, leaving destruction in his wake before disappearing into the depths of the ship. "Containment teams to level 4, Cray ordered into his comlink. "All security personnel on high alert." Deep within the research vessel, Bruce Banner awakened in confusion, his mind struggling to piece together fragmented memories. The last thing he remembered was the laboratory accident, the surge of gamma radiation, the transformation. Now he found himself in a strange metal corridor, surrounded by blinking lights and technology unlike anything he had ever seen. His body ached with the familiar pain that followed his transformations. But more concerning was the unfamiliar sensation that seemed to flow through him, an energy both ancient and vibrant that called to something primal within him. He could hear voices approaching, speaking a language that somehow translated in his mind. Fear gripped him, fear that they would capture him, experiment on him, fear that the Hulk would emerge again, and as always, fear became anger, anger became rage. The security team rounded the corner, their blasters drawn. They found not the confused human scientist, but a growing, changing terror. Banner's eyes flashed green as his muscles began to expand, ripping through the tattered remains of his clothing. His skin deepened to a verdant hue as he rose to his full, imposing height. "Stand down," the security chief commanded, his voice betraying his uncertainty. The Hulk's response was a roar that shook the corridor. The security team opened fire, their blaster bolts striking the green behemoth's chest and face. But instead of falling, the creature seemed to feed on the assault. With each impact, his rage grew, and with his rage, his strength multiplied. The strange energy Banner had sensed now flowed freely through the Hulk, amplifying his power beyond even his usual capabilities. The security team never stood a chance. With a single sweep of his massive arm, the Hulk sent them flying against the bulkheads. He charged forward, smashing through walls and barriers as if they were paper. Crew members fled in terror as the green monster rampaged through the ship, his path of destruction leading inevitably toward the outer hull. On the command deck, Cray watched in horror as the intruder tore through the vessel's infrastructure. "What in the name of the Force is that creature?" "Sir," Vosser reported, "the being is emitting energy signatures similar to dark side manifestations, but unlike anything in our records." Cray's blood ran cold. "Contact the Jedi Council immediately." But before any transmission could be sent, the ship lurched violently. Emergency klaxons wailed as the computer announced, "Critical hull breach. Abandoned ship. Repeat, abandoned ship." The Hulk, driven by blind rage and confusion, had torn through the final barrier separating him from the void of space. The sudden decompression pulled him out into the blackness. As escape pods jettisoned from the dying research vessel, Cray watched the green figure tumbling toward the nearby planet, a habitable outer rim world called Taris. "May the Force be with us all," the scientist whispered. The Hulk plummeted through the atmosphere of Taris, a blazing meteor of rage and muscle. The heat of re-entry would have incinerated any ordinary being, but radiation had long ago rendered his cells nearly indestructible. He struck the surface with catastrophic force, carving a crater in the industrial wasteland of the planet's lower levels. For hours, he lay there, his body healing, his mind retreating. Slowly, Banner re-emerged, naked and disoriented in the strange alien world. Groaning, he pushed himself up from the cracked duracrete, taking in his surroundings. Massive towers stretched up into perpetual twilight, their bases lost in shadow and pollution. The air tasted of metal and decay. "Where am I?" he whispered to himself. A group of Rhodian scavengers watched him from the shadows, their green skin and large, multifaceted eyes marking them as clearly non-human. Banner stared back, his scientific mind struggling to accept what he was seeing. Aliens, real aliens, not the Chitauri or Skrulls he had encountered before, but something entirely different. One of the Rhodians approached cautiously, holding out a tattered cloak. "You fell from the sky," the alien said in accented basic. "Are you injured, stranger?" Banner accepted the covering gratefully. "I'm not sure where I am or how I got here." The Rhodian chittered something to his companions before turning back to Banner. "You are in the undercity of Taris. We saw your fall. No one survives such a thing." His hand moved subtly toward a concealed weapon. "What manner of being are you?" Before Banner could answer, the whine of repulsor lifts filled the air. A patrol of white-armored soldiers descended on jetpacks, their weapons trained on the gathering. "Imperial Patrol," the Rhodian hissed. "Run!" The scavengers scattered, leaving Banner exposed as the armored troopers landed in a circle around him. Their helmets were featureless save for black visors, giving them an inhuman appearance. "Unidentified humanoid," one trooper called out, his voice mechanically filtered. "You are in a restricted area. Identify yourself." Banner raised his hands slowly. "My name is Dr. Bruce Banner. I'm lost. I mean no harm." The lead trooper consulted a datapad. No record in Imperial databases. Possible rebel infiltrator. "Detained for interrogation." Two troopers approached, restraints ready. Banner backed away, his heart rate climbing rapidly. "Please, you don't understand. You need to let me go. On your knees now." The command was punctuated by a warning shot that scorched the ground beside him. Inside Banner's mind, the Hulk stirred. The strange energy he had felt on the ship was stronger here, swirling around him, feeding his anger, his fear. His eyes flashed green. "I'm warning you," he gasped, clutching his head. "You really don't want to make me angry." The troopers hesitated, sensing something wrong as Banner's muscles began to twitch and expand. But their training prevailed. One fired a stun blast directly at Banner's chest. The blue energy struck him squarely, sending convulsions through his body. But instead of subduing him, it triggered the transformation, Banner's scream of pain transitioned into a roar of fury as his body expanded, muscles bulging, skin turning green, features contorting into a mask of primeval rage. The stormtroopers opened fire in earnest now, their blaster bolts striking the Hulk's chest and face. But each impact only fed his fury. The strange energy of this universe, what its inhabitants called the Force, resonated with his rage, amplifying it, channeling it into raw power. "What is that thing?" one trooper shouted. The Hulk answered with a thunderous impact, his fist shattering the trooper's armor and sending the broken body flying into a nearby wall. The others continued firing, backing away in terror as their weapons proved useless against the green monstrosity. With terrifying speed, the Hulk tore through the patrol. Armored bodies were smashed against walls and ground. One trooper activated his jetpack, trying to escape, but the Hulk seized his leg and slammed him repeatedly against the ground until the armor cracked and the jetpack exploded in a ball of flame. The final trooper, the patrol leader, backed away, his blaster discarded. He reached to his belt and withdrew a cylinder of metal. With a snap hiss, a blade of crimson energy ignited. "Stand down, creature," the trooper commanded, the red light of the lightsaber reflecting off his white armor. "By the authority of the Imperial Inquisitorius." Something about the glowing weapon gave the Hulk pause. The energy it emitted was different, focused, controlled. The Inquisitor took advantage of the hesitation, leaping forward with superhuman speed, the lightsaber cutting a deadly arc toward the Hulk's neck. The blade struck green flesh and, for the first time, the Hulk felt pain. The lightsaber did not slice through him as it would ordinary matter, but it burned, searing his nearly impervious skin. The Hulk roared, more in surprise than agony, and swung a massive fist at his attacker. The Inquisitor moved with preternatural grace, evading the blow and striking again, this time carving a burning line across the Hulk's chest. "Interesting," the Imperial said. "Your hide resists the lightsaber, but not completely." The Hulk's rage intensified. The ground trembled beneath his feet as he charged, his movements too fast for even the Force-sensitive Inquisitor to fully avoid. A glancing blow sent the Imperial flying back, his armor cracked, blood seeping from beneath his helmet. The Inquisitor raised a hand, and the Hulk felt an invisible pressure around his throat. His feet lifted off the ground as the Force grip tightened. "The dark side is strong with you, creature," the Inquisitor said, rising unsteadily. "But it is undisciplined, untrained." The Hulk struggled against the invisible bonds, his fury building. The strange energy the Imperial wielded called to something deep within him, a connection he did not understand but instinctively reached for. As his rage peaked, the Force grip shattered. The backlash sent the Inquisitor stumbling. Back. "Impossible," the Imperial whispered. The Hulk was upon him in an instant. The lightsaber flashed once more, slicing across the Hulk's arm, but it was too late. Massive green hands seized the Inquisitor, one on each arm, and pulled. The sound of armor cracking, then breaking, then the wet tear of flesh and bone filled the alleyway. The Inquisitor's scream was cut short. The Hulk stood over the broken body, chest heaving, the lightsaber hilt crushed in his hand. Around him, the scavengers emerged cautiously from hiding places, staring in awe and terror at the green giant who had torn apart an Imperial patrol. The Rodian who had offered Banner the cloak approached tentatively. "The Empire will send more," he said. "Many more. You should not stay here." The Hulk glared at the alien, rage still flowing through his veins. But something in the Rodian's fear-filled eyes penetrated the haze of his anger. With a grunt, he turned and leapt, covering impossible distance, bounding from building to building until he disappeared into the urban maze of the Undercity. The Rodian stared after him, then activated a small communicator. "Fulcrum," he said quietly, "you will not believe what I just witnessed." Deep within the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, Master Lona Sen sat in meditation, her silver eyes closed, her weathered face serene despite the disturbance she had felt in the Force. The ancient Miraluka Jedi Master had long ago transcended physical sight, relying instead on her species' natural ability to perceive the world through the Force, and what she perceived now troubled her deeply. A ripple had spread across the galaxy, emanating from wild space. A new presence, powerful and chaotic, had entered their reality, and it resonated with the dark side in ways she had never before encountered. The chamber door slid open, admitting Master Kyo Ren, a tall human whose dark skin contrasted with the silver streak in his otherwise black hair. His expression was grim. "You felt it, too," he said. "It was not a question." Master Sen nodded. "A wound in the Force. Something has crossed between worlds." Ren approached, his boots silent on the polished floor. "The Republic research vessel Luminous Horizon has gone silent. Their last transmission reported a successful extraction from a parallel dimension." "Successful," Sen repeated, her voice heavy with irony. "They have pulled something into our galaxy that does not belong here. Something powerful, something angry. The Senate is demanding answers. The diplomatic situation is already tenuous with the separatist systems and the growing imperial influence." Ren sighed. "Chancellor Mothma has requested we investigate personally." Sen opened her eyeless face to him, her expression grave. "There is more. The being they have brought forth, it resonates with the dark side, but not in a way I have ever felt. It is not corrupted by the dark side. Rather, its very nature, its anger and rage, empowers it through the dark side." "A natural conduit," Ren murmured. "Is it sentient?" "Yes," Sen answered, "but divided. 2 minds, 2 souls, sharing one form. One rational, one primal." She rose from her meditation cushion with fluid grace despite her advanced years. "We must find this being before the Sith do." "I have already prepared a team," Ren said. "My former Padawan, Jedi Knight Solon Jace, and 2 others. Our intelligence places the anomaly on Taris." "The Outer Rim," Sen said thoughtfully. "Far from Republic jurisdiction. Imperial influence grows stronger there by the day. All the more reason to move quickly." Ren turned to leave but paused at the door. "What should we tell the team about the nature of this entity?" Sen considered the question carefully. "Tell them to approach with caution, but not with fear. Fear leads to the dark side, and this being feeds on such emotions. They must remain centered, calm." She paused. "And tell them that this creature may be as much victim as threat." Ren nodded. "May the Force be with us." "Indeed," Sen replied softly, "for I sense we will need it." On Taris, in the days that followed, rumors spread through the underworld of a green monster that appeared without warning to wreak havoc on Imperial operations. A patrol of stormtroopers disappeared in the industrial sector. A weapons shipment was destroyed, the armored transport crushed as if by some impossible force. An Imperial officer was found embedded in a wall, his body broken beyond recognition. In the seediest cantina of the Undercity, a holographic map flickered on a private table where 4 cloaked figures huddled in conversation. Jedi Knight Solon Jace, a man of athletic build with close-cropped auburn hair and a thin scar across his left cheek, studied the data with intense blue eyes. "The pattern is erratic," he observed. "No coordination, no strategy. It attacks and then disappears." Beside him, Jedi Knight Liana Moro, a Togruta female with distinctive white and blue montrals, nodded in agreement. The witnesses describe a creature of pure rage. It seems to target Imperials specifically, but that may be coincidence. The Empire maintains the largest presence in the sector. Or perhaps it senses the dark side in them, suggested the 3rd member of their team, Jedi Knight Kenth Dral, a battle-hardened Zabrak whose tan skin was marked with intricate facial tattoos. Master Sen said this being has a natural affinity for it. The 4th figure, not a Jedi but a Republic intelligence operative named Aris Valen, leaned forward. "My contacts in the rebellion say the creature appears to be 2 different beings. Most of the time, it's a raging monster. but there have been sightings of a human male in the same locations, confused, lost, speaking a language similar to Basic, but with unknown idioms. Two beings, one form, Jace mused. Just as Master Sen described. The human hasn't harmed anyone, Valen continued. He seems to be trying to avoid conflict. The transformation appears to be triggered by stress or threat. Moro's eyes narrowed. So the human is a victim of some kind of dark side corruption. Not corruption, Jace corrected, recalling Sen's words. The dark side amplifies the transformation, feeds it, but isn't its source. This is something else entirely. The discussion was interrupted as the cantina's atmosphere suddenly shifted. Conversations died. Music faltered. All eyes turned to the entrance where two figures in black robes had appeared. Their faces were hidden in shadow, but the metallic hilts hanging from their belts were unmistakable. Inquisitors, Drall whispered. The Empire wants the creature too, Valen said, keeping her voice low. They've dispatched their Force-sensitive hunters. Jace watched as the Inquisitors moved through the cantina, their presence causing patrons to shrink away. We need to find it first. For its own safety as much as others. I have a lead, Valen said. A Rhodian informant claims to have spoken with the human form. He's been tracking the creature's movements. Then we move now, Jace decided, rising from the table, before the Inquisitors catch the same scent. They slipped out the back entrance, unaware that their departure had been noted. One of the black-robed figures turned slightly, watching them go. Jedi, he said simply to his companion. The hunt grows more interesting, the other replied, a cruel smile evident in his voice. Miles away, deep in the industrial wasteland of Terrace's abandoned factories, Bruce Banner huddled in the shell of a derelict processing plant. He had managed to scavenge clothing and even some food, though the alien provisions tasted strange to his palate. More importantly, he had found moments of solitude to think, to try and understand what had happened to him. The flashes of memory from the Hulk's rampages were disturbing. This world was even more dangerous than his own, filled with advanced technology and beings with powers he couldn't comprehend. And something else, an energy that seemed to permeate everything, that called to the Hulk, amplifying his strength beyond even its usual impossible levels. I have to find a way home, Banner muttered to himself, scratching calculations into the dust with a piece of metal. The physics of this universe seemed similar to his own in fundamental ways, but with properties he had never encountered. Hyperspace, they called it, a dimension of faster-than-light travel, perhaps related to the quantum realm? If he could understand it, maybe he could reverse the process that had brought him here. A noise outside interrupted his calculations. Banner froze, listening intently. Footsteps, too light for the armored soldiers, approached his hiding place. He looked around frantically for an escape route, but it was too late. A female figure appeared in the doorway, her alien features striking with orange skin and distinctive head tails. She wore simple robes and carried no visible weapon, but Banner sensed something powerful about her. Dr. Banner, she said gently, my name is Liana Moro. I'm here to help you. Banner backed away. How do you know my name? We've been tracking reports of your other self, she replied, remaining in the doorway, making no move to approach him. The Green One. The locals call him many things. The Emerald Devastator. The Rage of Taris. He's dangerous, Banner warned. You should stay away from me. We know about your condition, Moro said. The dual nature of your existence. We believe we can help you control it, understand it. Banner laughed bitterly. I've spent years trying to control it, cure it. Nothing works. This is a different universe, Dr. Banner, Moro said, taking a cautious step forward, with different rules. The energy that feeds your transformation, we call it the Force. It binds the galaxy together, gives certain beings special abilities. She held out her hand, and a small piece of debris floated upward, without her touching it. Banner stared in astonishment. Telekinesis? One application of the Force, she acknowledged. There are many others, including techniques that might help you find balance. Banner's scientific curiosity was piqued despite his wariness. "Who are you people?" "I am a Jedi Knight," Morrow explained. "We are peacekeepers, guardians of balance in the Force. My companions are waiting nearby. We can take you somewhere safe, away from the Imperials who hunt you." "And why should I trust you?" Banner asked. Before Morrow could answer, an explosion rocked the building. The wall behind Banner disintegrated in a shower of debris, and he was thrown forward. Morrow reacted instantly, raising her hands to deflect the worst of the rubble with the Force. Through the newly created opening strode two figures in black, each igniting a red blade of energy. The lightsabers cast an ominous glow across their pale faces. "How touching," said the taller of the Inquisitors, a thin man with yellow eyes and a cruel smile. "A Jedi and her pet monster." Morrow ignited her own lightsaber, a blade of vibrant blue. "Doctor." "Banner, run!" she shouted. But it was too late. Banner felt his heart rate spike, adrenaline flooding his system. The familiar pain began, bones shifting, muscles expanding. The Hulk was coming, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The female Inquisitor, noticing the transformation beginning, raised her hand. Lightning erupted from her fingertips, striking Banner directly. Instead of subduing him, the dark side energy fed directly into his transformation, accelerating it, amplifying it. The Hulk's roar shook the foundations of the building as he rose to his full height, his green skin crackling with absorbed Force energy. The female Inquisitor backed away in surprise, but her companion smiled wider. "Yes," he said. "Show us your true nature, beast." Morrow positioned herself between the Hulk and the Inquisitors, her lightsaber held defensively. "Doctor, Banner," she called out, trying to reach the human consciousness within the monster. "These are the enemies, not me." But the Hulk was beyond reason. Pain, rage, and the intoxicating rush of dark side energy overwhelmed any remnant of Banner's control. With a backhanded sweep, he sent Morrow flying into a wall, her lightsaber clattering to the floor. The Inquisitors attacked in tandem, their red blades slashing at the Hulk from both sides. Unlike conventional weapons, the lightsabers did cause pain, burning furrows into his green flesh. But the wounds sealed almost as quickly as they were made, the Hulk's incredible regenerative abilities working overtime, and with each injury, his rage intensified. The dark side of the Force swirled around him like a storm, feeding on his anger, amplifying it, returning it to him as raw power. He seized a massive piece of machinery and hurled it at the male Inquisitor, who sliced it in half with his lightsaber but couldn't avoid the follow-up blow from the Hulk's fist. The impact sent the Inquisitor crashing through multiple walls. The female pressed her attack, more cautious now, using the Force to hurl debris at the Hulk while staying beyond his reach. But her powers were insufficient against his growing might. The Hulk tore a support beam from the ceiling and swung it like a club, catching her squarely and sending her body tumbling across the floor like a broken doll. Morrow had regained her feet and retrieved her lightsaber. She watched in awe and horror as the Hulk demolished the Inquisitors. "Such power," she whispered. And completely untrained in the Force, the male Inquisitor emerged from the rubble, blood streaming down his face. He glared at the Hulk with hatred, then at Morrow. "This isn't over, Jedi," he spat, before turning to flee. The Hulk moved to pursue, but Morrow called out to him. "Wait." She deactivated her lightsaber and clipped it to her belt, showing she meant no harm. "Dr. Banner, I know you're in there, somewhere. We want to help you." The Hulk turned to her, his green eyes blazing with rage, but something in her calm demeanor, her lack of fear, gave him pause. The Force energy she radiated was different from the Inquisitors, cool and balanced where theirs had been hot and chaotic. "Banner gone," the Hulk growled, his first words since transformation. "Only Hulk now." "I don't believe that," Morrow said steadily. "I sense both of you, two minds, two souls, sharing one form. But you don't have to fight each other. You can find balance." The Hulk snorted in disbelief, but he made no move to attack. Morrow took this as an encouraging sign. "The Empire will send more hunters," she continued. Stronger ones. They want to use you as a weapon. We want to help you get home." The mention of home stirred something in the Hulk's memory. Banner's desperate calculations, his theory about hyperspace and dimensional travel. "Home," the Hulk repeated. The word seemed to trigger a shift. The green giant grimaced, clutching his head as if in pain. His muscles began to contract, his color fading. Moro watched in fascination as the transformation reversed itself. Where the towering behemoth had stood, an exhausted human now collapsed to his knees. Banner looked up at her with clear eyes. "I heard you," he said weakly, "while he was in control. That's never happened before." Before Moro could respond, 3 more figures rushed into the ruined building. Jace, Dral, and Valen had their weapons drawn, but lowered them when they saw the situation. "You found him," Jace observed, eyeing Banner with curiosity. "And the Inquisitors found us," Moro replied grimly. "We need to move quickly. They'll return with reinforcements." "You said something about the Force helping me control the Hulk. Is that possible?" "I believe so," Moro said. "We need to get you to our ship." Banner nodded wearily. "Lead the way." As they helped the exhausted scientist through the industrial ruins of Taris, none of them noticed the small probe droid hovering silently in the shadows, recording everything before streaking away toward the Imperial command post. In orbit above Taris, the Imperial Star Destroyer Executrix maintained a silent vigil. On its bridge, Grand Moff Tarkin reviewed the footage transmitted by the probe droid, his gaunt features illuminated by the blue glow of the hologram. "Fascinating," he murmured, watching the Hulk demolish 2 Inquisitors with little effort. "And you say this creature is from another dimension entirely?" Beside him, Director Krennic nodded, his white uniform pristine against the gray and black of the bridge. "Our research division has analyzed the data from the Republic vessel Luminous Horizon. Their dimensional extraction experiment succeeded beyond their expectations." Tarkin rewound the footage. Studying the moment when the female Inquisitor's Force lightning seemed to accelerate the subject's transformation, the dark side appears to amplify its power. "Most interesting. The Emperor will want this specimen," Krennic observed. "Its raw strength, combined with its affinity for the dark side, could make it a valuable asset." "If it can be controlled," Tarkin cautioned, shutting down the hologram. "That remains to be seen." He turned to the ship's commander. "Captain, deploy the garrison. I want this creature captured alive." "And the Jedi?" Krennic asked. Tarkin's thin lips curved in a cold smile. "Kill them, of course." On the surface of Taris, Banner and his Jedi escorts had reached a spaceport on the outskirts of the Undercity. Their ship, a modified Republic corvette, waited on a private landing pad, but as they approached, the distinctive whine of TIE fighter engines filled the air. "Imperial blockade," Valen reported, lowering her macrobinoculars. "They've locked down the spaceport." Jace frowned, his hand resting on his lightsaber hilt. "They moved faster than I anticipated. We need another way off-world." "I have contacts in the rebellion," Valen suggested. "There's a safe house nearby where we might be able to arrange alternative transport. We have to get past that Imperial patrol first," Dral pointed out, nodding toward a squad of stormtroopers checking identifications at the spaceport entrance. Banner, who had been quiet during their journey, spoke up. "I could create a distraction." The Jedi exchanged concerned glances. "You mean intentionally transform?" Moro asked. Banner nodded grimly. "I can't control when the Hulk appears, but I can point him in a direction before I let go." "That's incredibly dangerous," Jace objected. "For you and potentially civilians." "I've been living with this curse for years," Banner replied. "Sometimes I can direct the Hulk's rage toward deserving targets. These Imperials, they're the oppressors here, right? The ones hunting me?" "They serve an empire built on fear and tyranny," Valen confirmed. "But still, the risk to bystanders." "We'll clear the area first," Banner insisted. "Get people to safety." Then I'll give the Imperials something else to worry about while you secure transport." The plan was risky, but they had few alternatives. The Jedi worked quickly, using mind tricks and quiet warnings to evacuate civilians from the area surrounding the spaceport entrance. Meanwhile, Valen made contact with her rebellion allies, arranging for an extraction ship. When all was ready, Banner stepped out into the open, alone and unarmed, walking directly toward the Imperial checkpoint. "Identification," demanded the lead stormtrooper as Banner approached. "I'm afraid I left it in my other pants," Banner replied with a wry smile. "The ones I was wearing before I turned into a giant green rage monster." The stormtroopers raised their blasters. "Hands up, on your knees," Banner sighed. "You know, I tried to warn the last group of you guys." He closed his eyes, focusing on the anger always simmering beneath the proud surface. The memory of being hunted, experimented on, the pain of isolation, the fear of his own power. The transformation came quickly. The stormtroopers opened fire, but it was too late. Blaster bolts struck expanding green muscle, and the Hulk roared his defiance to the skies of Taris. What followed was chaos. The Hulk tore through the Imperial checkpoint like a force of nature. Stormtroopers were sent flying, their armor crumpling under massive fists. Vehicles were lifted and hurled as projectiles. The Jedi watched from hiding, awed by the destructive power they witnessed. "He's drawing all Imperial forces to this location," Dral observed as reinforcements rushed toward the disturbance, including those blockading the spaceport. "Then we move now," Jace ordered. The 3 Jedi and Valen slipped away from the battlefield, making their way to the rendezvous point where their rebellion contact waited with a battered freighter. But Moro hesitated, looking back at the green giant wreaking havoc on the Imperial forces. "We can't just leave him," she insisted. "That wasn't the plan," Jace acknowledged. "But how do we extract him in that state?" Moro's expression turned determined. "I'll get him. The rest of you secure the ship. Be ready for immediate takeoff." Before Jace could object, Moro was running back toward the battle, her lightsaber ignited and glowing blue against the darkening sky of Taris. The Imperial forces had surrounded the Hulk, their numbers growing by the minute. ATST walkers stomped through the debris, their laser cannons firing concentrated bursts at the green giant. The barrage seemed only to enrage him further, each blast feeding the dark side energy that swirled around his massive form like a crimson aura. The Hulk had torn the leg from one walker and was using it as a club, sweeping stormtroopers aside in waves of broken white armor. But even his incredible strength had limits. New weapons were being deployed, energy nets and gravity, projectors designed to immobilize even the most powerful foes. Moro reached out through the Force, trying to touch Banner's consciousness within the raging behemoth. "Dr. Banner," she called, both aloud and through the Force, "we have transport. We can get you to safety, but you need to come with me now." The Hulk turned toward her voice, his eyes narrowing at the sight of the glowing lightsaber. For a moment, Moro feared he would attack her as he had done in their first encounter, but something had changed. The connection between Banner and the Hulk had strengthened. "Jedi," the Hulk growled, recognition flickering in his green eyes. An energy net fired from an Imperial dropship, enveloping the Hulk in crackling blue restraints. He roared in pain and fury, muscles straining against the confinement. The net's energy fed into his rage, creating a dangerous feedback loop of power. Moro leapt into action, her lightsaber slicing through the projectors anchoring the net. "This way," she urged, cutting down stormtroopers that moved to intercept them. The Hulk hesitated, torn between following the Jedi and continuing his rampage against the Imperials who had hurt him. A new threat decided the matter. From the Imperial lines emerged a tall figure in gleaming black armor, his breathing a mechanical rasp that somehow carried over the chaos of battle. In his hand, a crimson lightsaber hummed with deadly promise. "Darth Vader," Moro whispered, fear evident in her voice. Even the Hulk seemed to sense the dark power emanating from the Sith Lord. This was no ordinary opponent. Vader strode forward with implacable purpose, deflecting blaster fire with casual ease, his focus entirely on the green giant before him. Impressive. Vader's deep, modulated voice pronounced, "The Emperor will be most interested in your connection to the dark side." The Hulk roared a challenge, but Moro grabbed his massive arm. "Not this fight," she urged. "Not now." Perhaps it was Banner's influence, or perhaps even the Hulk recognized the wisdom in her words. With a final defiant roar at Vader, the Hulk turned and followed Moro, each bound covering hundreds of meters as they fled the Imperial forces. Vader watched them go, making no move to pursue immediately. "All units," he commanded into his comlink, "track that creature, I want it alive." Moro led the Hulk through the industrial wastelands, taking a circuitous route to avoid Imperial patrols. The freighter waited at an abandoned mining platform, its engines already cycling for takeoff. Jace, Drall, and Valen stood at the loading ramp, tension evident in their postures. "You actually convinced him," Jace said in amazement as Moro and the Hulk approached. "Banner is in there," Moro replied. "He understands we're trying to help." The Hulk grunted, eyeing the ship with suspicion. "Too small," he rumbled. "It will hold," Valen assured him, though she looked uncertain. "But we need to leave now. Imperial reinforcements are closing in." As if to emphasize her point, the whine of TIE fighters grew louder as a squadron approached their position. The freighter's pilot, a grizzled Duros rebel operative, shouted from the cockpit, "If we don't break atmosphere in the next 3 minutes, we never will." "Come on," Moro urged the Hulk. "Trust us." The green giant hesitated, then ducked his head and squeezed through the cargo door. The ship's frame groaned under his weight as he settled in the largest open space in the hold. The Jedi boarded quickly, Jace rushing to the cockpit to assist with navigation while Drall manned the defense turret. The freighter lifted off just as the first TIE fighters came into view, their distinctive engines howling as they closed on their prey. Laser fire streaked past the viewport as the pilot executed a series of evasive maneuvers that tested the old ship's structural integrity. "Can't you calm him down?" Valen asked Moro, nodding toward the Hulk as the ship bucked violently, partly from evasive action and partly from the green giant's agitated movements in the confined space. "The transformation has to run its course," Moro explained. "The force connection works differently than I expected. I can sense Banner in there, but he's not in control." A direct hit rocked the freighter, sending warning lights flashing across all consoles. The Hulk roared in alarm, his fist punching into the bulkhead and leaving a massive dent. "We've got a Star Destroyer moving to intercept," the pilot called back. "We'll never make the jump to hyperspace with them on our tail." The Hulk's eyes narrowed at the mention of the threat. To everyone's surprise, he moved toward the rear of the ship, to the small airlock used for emergency repairs. "What is he doing?" Jace asked, returning from the cockpit. Moro reached out through the Force, sensing Banner's consciousness more strongly now. "He has a plan," she said, though uncertainty tinged her voice. The Hulk turned to them, his expression fierce but controlled. "Hulk handles Star Destroyer. Open door." "That's insane," Valen protested. "Even you can't survive in space, and you certainly can't fight a capital ship." "Not fight," the Hulk said, the words coming with difficulty. "Jump." Moro understood first. "He's going to use himself as a distraction, draw them off while we escape." "It's suicide," Jace argued. "Hulk survive," the green giant insisted. "Banner too, already fell from sky." The ship rocked again as more turbo-laser fire found its mark. The shields were failing and the hyperdrive motivator was damaged. They had few options. "Do it," Moro decided. "But we'll come back for you." "I promise." The Hulk nodded once, a gesture so human it momentarily revealed Banner's influence. Drall operated the airlock controls, creating a containment field that would allow the Hulk to exit without venting the entire ship to space. As the outer door opened, revealing the vast starscape beyond, the Hulk turned back one final time. "Find way home," he said, and Morrow wasn't sure if it was Banner speaking through the Hulk or the Hulk himself expressing a shared desire. Then he was gone, leaping from the airlock with incredible force, his massive body hurtling through vacuum toward the approaching Star Destroyer. The pressure differentials should have killed him instantly, the vacuum freezing his blood and boiling his tissues, but the Hulk's physiology, already superhuman, seemed to adapt. The radiation that had created him, combined with the force energy that permeated this universe, sustained him in the airless void. The Imperials, not expecting a direct assault from a single entity in space, focused their attention on the green projectile hurtling toward their ship. It was all the distraction the freighter needed. As the Hulk crashed into the Star Destroyer's bridge tower with devastating impact, the rebel ship slipped past the Imperial blockade and jumped to hyperspace. "Will he survive?" Valen asked, as stars stretched into lines around them. The Force moved strongly around him. Morrow replied, "His destiny is not yet fulfilled." Aboard the Executrix, alarms blared as systems failed across the bridge. The Hulk had punched through durasteel and transparasteel as if they were tissue paper, his body somehow functioning in the vacuum of space. Emergency force fields had activated, preventing the entire bridge from decompressing, but the damage was catastrophic. Grand Moff Tarkin picked himself up from the deck, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. Bodies of bridge officers lay scattered around him, some dead from the impact, others from brief exposure to vacuum. Through the gaping hole where the viewports had been, he could see the creature clinging to the exterior of the bridge tower, its green skin frosted with ice crystals but still moving, still alive. "Impossible," Tarkin whispered. The Hulk punched again, widening the breach. The emergency force fields flickered as they struggled to compensate. Tarkin backed away, reaching for his sidearm, though he knew it would be useless against such a being. "Lord Vader," he calmed urgently, "the bridge is compromised. The creature is breaking through our defenses." "Evacuate essential personnel," Vader's voice replied calmly. "I am implementing containment protocol." Tarkin didn't wait to learn what that meant. He retreated with the surviving bridge officers through emergency tubes as the Hulk tore his way inside the Star Destroyer. Throughout the massive vessel, terrified crew members reported sightings of the green monster rampaging through corridors, tearing through blast doors, smashing vital systems. The ship began to list, its stabilizers failing as the Hulk's destructive path reached engineering decks. Vader alone stood unafraid. In the cavernous hangar bay, he waited as the ship died around him, focusing on the unique force signature of the creature. The dark side swirled and eddied around the Hulk, drawn to his rage, feeding it, being fed by it in return. It was a connection unlike any Vader had encountered, raw and primal, untainted by ideology or ambition. The hangar doors burst inward as the Hulk arrived, his green skin now marked with burns and lacerations that healed even as they formed. His eyes fixed on the black-armored figure waiting for him. "You are strong with the dark side," Vader observed, his lightsaber igniting with a snap hiss. "But untrained. Undisciplined." The Hulk roared, charging forward with speed that belied his massive size. Vader raised his hand, and the Hulk was suddenly lifted off the deck, held in a force grip that would have crushed the throat of any ordinary being. But the Hulk was far from ordinary. His muscles bulged as he fought against the invisible restraint, and the dark side responded to his rage, swirling around him, strengthening him. To Vader's surprise, the Hulk broke free of his hold, dropping back to the deck with an impact that dented the metal beneath his feet. The Sith Lord barely had time to raise his lightsaber as the Hulk was upon him, green fists swinging with enough force to shatter durasteel. The red blade intercepted the blow, and for the first time, the Hulk recoiled in genuine pain as the lightsaber burned deep into his flesh. Vader pressed his advantage, his mastery of the Force and lightsaber combat, allowing him to anticipate the Hulk's movements despite their incredible speed. The crimson blade sliced again and again, opening burning furrows in green skin, but each wound healed almost as quickly as it was made. And with each injury, the Hulk's rage intensified, his connection to the dark side growing stronger. The hangar bay began to buckle around them as the raw power of their conflict warped metal and shattered equipment. "Your power could serve the Emperor," Vader said, momentarily disengaging. "Submit, and you will be rewarded." "Hulk serves no one," the green giant snarled, and there was something new in his voice. A clarity that suggested Banner's influence was growing stronger. "Hulk is strongest there is." The battle resumed with renewed fury. Vader called upon the full power of the dark side, channeling it through his cybernetic body, enhancing his already formidable strength and speed. The Hulk matched him blow for blow, his natural affinity for the dark side allowing him to instinctively counter many of Vader's force techniques. But the Sith Lord's experience and training still gave him an edge. A precisely aimed lightsaber thrust pierced the Hulk's shoulder, driving deep into muscle and bone. The green giant roared in agony, staggering back. Vader followed up with a force push of tremendous power, sending the Hulk crashing into the far wall of the hangar. "Your resistance is impressive," Vader acknowledged, advancing on his wounded opponent, "but futile." The Hulk pulled himself from the wreckage of the wall, green blood flowing from wounds that were taking longer to heal. The extended battle in space, the constant injuries, were finally taking a toll even on his incredible endurance. And then something changed. The Hulk's expression shifted, intelligence replacing blind rage in his eyes. When he spoke, his voice was different, the words more articulate. "You're right," he said, and it was Banner speaking through the Hulk now, a merger of the two personalities that had never before been achieved. "This fight is pointless." Vader paused, intrigued by the transformation. "You are the other consciousness within this form." "Bruce Banner," he confirmed. "Scientist, not warrior. And I understand now what's happening." He gestured at the devastation around them. "The Force, as you call it, it's like a fundamental force in physics. It responds to emotions, amplifies them. The Hulk is a creature of rage, so the dark side is drawn to him." "Your understanding is incomplete," Vader replied. "The dark side is the true nature of the Force, its most powerful aspect." Banner Hulk shook his head. "No, it's just one aspect. I can feel it now. Both sides. The rage that powers the Hulk, but also something else, something balanced." As he spoke, the Force energy swirling around him began to shift. The dark side was still there, feeding on his anger, but now another aspect emerged, called forth by Banner's rational mind, his desire for peace and understanding. The light side of the Force, responding to compassion rather than rage. Vader sensed the change, and it disturbed him. Impossible. No being can channel both aspects of the Force simultaneously. "I'm not from your universe," Banner Hulk reminded him. "Different rules apply." He straightened, his wounds finally healing, his strength returning. "And I'm done fighting." With that, he turned and leaped, not attacking Vader but moving past him through the open hangar doors into the void of space. Vader watched him go, a massive green figure dwindling against the starscape, propelling himself with incredible leaps from debris to debris, the fragments of destroyed ships providing stepping stones as he disappeared into the darkness. "Lord Vader," a nervous officer calmed. "The creature is escaping." "Let it go," Vader replied, deactivating his lightsaber. "Inform the Emperor that we have encountered a being of unique power, one that will require special measures to capture." In the depths of the Outer Rim, beyond the reach of both Empire and Republic, the Jedi team had found refuge on a remote world called Bogdan. Here, among the marshlands and misty forests, they established a temporary base, coordinating with rebellion allies while planning their next move. Bruce Banner, now returned to his human form, sat cross-legged on a flat stone, overlooking a fog-shrouded valley. Jedi Knight Moro sat opposite him, her eyes closed in meditation. They had been working together for days, exploring the connection between Banner's condition and the Force. "I can sense it now," Banner said quietly, his eyes also closed. "The duality. The light side and the dark side. They're like positive and negative energy states, matter and antimatter. The Force binds the galaxy together, Morrow explained. It has many aspects, but the Jedi seek balance, harmony between all things. Balance, Banner repeated. That's what I've never been able to achieve. The Hulk and I have always been separate, at war with each other. But that's changing, Morrow observed. During your battle with Vader, you achieved a partial merger. Banner's mind, the Hulk's body, working in concert rather than opposition. Banner nodded, excitement evident in his voice despite his meditative pose. The Force is the key. In my universe, the Hulk is triggered by anger, fear, stress. He's a response to threat. But here, with the Force, emotions are more than just chemical reactions in the brain. They're connections to a greater energy field. And by understanding that connection, Morrow suggested, you might achieve control. Not control, Banner corrected. Harmony, partnership. Their meditation was interrupted as Jace approached, his expression grave. We've received word from our contacts. The Empire has placed an unprecedented bounty on the capture of the green creature. They're calling it a threat to galactic security. Banner sighed. So I'm still being hunted. The Empire fears what it cannot control, Jace said. And you, Doctor, Banner, represent power beyond their understanding. What about getting me home? Banner asked. Have your scientists made any progress with the hyperspace calculations? Jace and Morrow exchanged glances. There's been a development, Morrow said carefully. The Republic research team believes they've located the dimensional rift that brought you here. It hasn't closed completely. Banner sat up straighter. That means there might be a way back. Potentially, Jace acknowledged, but there's a complication. The rift is located in a system now under Imperial control. They've established a research station there, studying the anomaly. Let me guess, Banner said wryly. They're hoping to pull through more beings like me, potential weapons. Or they're looking for a way to send forces into your dimension, Morrow suggested. Either way, we can't allow them to control the rift. Banner stood, looking out over the misty landscape. Then we need to get there first. Destroy their facility if necessary. It won't be easy, Jace warned. Intelligence suggests the installation is heavily defended. Star destroyers, ground forces, and reports indicate Vader himself oversees the project. I've faced Vader once already, Banner said, turning back to them. Next time will be different. The Hulk and I, we're learning, growing stronger together. You're proposing a direct assault? Jace asked, skepticism evident in his voice. No, Banner replied. I'm proposing a precise strike. Get me to that rift. The Hulk will handle the rest. It's too dangerous, Morrow protested. Even with your power, the Imperial forces will be focused on capturing me alive. Banner finished for her. That gives us an advantage, and I've been working on something. A theory about how the Hulk's power interacts with the Force. He led them back to the small hut where he had been staying, its interior now covered with calculations and diagrams scratched onto bark and leaves, the only materials available on the primitive world. The Hulk absorbs energy, he explained. Ambient gamma radiation, kinetic impacts, even emotional energy. That's how he keeps getting stronger the angrier he gets. But here, in this universe, he's also absorbing and channeling the Force. Primarily the dark side, because it resonates with his rage. We've observed this, Jace said. It's why the Inquisitor's attacks only made him stronger. Exactly, Banner agreed. But what if he could channel the light side instead, or both simultaneously? Morrow's eyes widened with understanding. A perfect balance. Neither Jedi nor Sith. Neither Banner nor Hulk, he corrected. Both working in harmony, a new being altogether. It was an ambitious plan, requiring preparation both physical and spiritual. The Jedi worked with Banner daily, teaching him meditation techniques, helping him understand the nature of the Force and how to connect with it consciously rather than instinctively as the Hulk had done. Meanwhile, Rebel intelligence gathered information on the Imperial research station. building a detailed picture of its defenses and vulnerabilities. They identified a small window of opportunity when the facility's shields would be recalibrated, allowing for a brief infiltration. As the day of the mission approached, Banner spent more time in meditation, sometimes alone, sometimes with Moro. The female Jedi had developed a particular rapport with him, her calm presence helping him navigate the turbulent emotions that triggered his transformations. "Are you sure about this?" she asked him on the eve of their departure. "Once we're inside that facility, there's no guarantee we can get you to the rift." Banner's expression was serene, more at peace than she had seen him since their first meeting. "I'm sure. One way or another, this ends tomorrow. Either I go home, or—" He left the alternative unspoken. "The Force will be with you," Moro said. "With both of you." Banner smiled. "That's what I'm counting on." The Imperial Research Station orbited a nameless world in a system marked only as XJ2207 on Republic charts. It consisted of a central hub with radiating arms, each housing different research divisions, all focused on the dimensional anomaly that hung like a shimmer in space nearby, visible only through specialized equipment. The Rebel strike team approached in a stolen Imperial shuttle, transmitting forged codes that granted them temporary clearance. Jace piloted, his face tense as they passed between two looming star destroyers. "Shuttle Theta 9, proceed to Docking Bay 7, came the controller's voice. "Transmit manifest and prepare for inspection." "Acknowledged, Control," Jace replied, trying to sound bored and official. "Transmitting now." In the passenger compartment, Banner sat with Moro and Dral, all disguised in Imperial officer uniforms. Valen had opted to remain with the rebellion, coordinating support that would arrive once the mission was underway. "They'll detect the false credentials within minutes of our landing," Dral warned. "We'll have to move fast." "Get me as close to the anomaly research section as possible," Banner said. "After that, it's on me." The shuttle docked smoothly, and they disembarked with practiced military precision. A junior officer met them, datapad in hand, ready to verify their identities. Jace stepped forward, waving his hand subtly. "Our credentials are in order," he said, the Force adding persuasive power to his words. "No inspection is necessary." The officer's eyes glazed slightly. "Your credentials are in order. No inspection is necessary. We need immediate access to Section Omega," Moro added. "Director Krennic is expecting our report." The name-dropping worked. The officer nodded quickly, not wanting to risk the ire of a superior. "Of course. Follow me." He led them through the station's corridors, passing research labs and security checkpoints. Through viewports, they could occasionally glimpse the dimensional rift, a distortion in space that seemed to bend light around it. Banner felt a pull toward it, a recognition at some fundamental level. That was his way home. Their escort left them at a secure turbolift that would take them to Section Omega. As soon as he was gone, Jace turned to Banner. "This is where we part ways," he said. "The main research lab is 3 levels up. That's where they're studying the rift. We'll create diversions throughout the station to draw off security." Banner nodded, suddenly looking uncertain. "I want to thank you all for helping me, for believing in me." "The Force works in mysterious ways, Dr. Banner," Dral said. "Perhaps you were brought here for a purpose we don't yet understand." Moro stepped forward and clasped Banner's hand. "Remember your training. Find the balance within. The Force will be your ally." "May the Force be with you," Banner replied, having learned the traditional farewell. As the Jedi moved off to their assigned positions, Banner entered the turbolift alone. He took deep breaths, centering himself as Moro had taught him. The transformation needed to be controlled, directed. Not a surrender to rage, but a partnership with it. The turbolift doors opened onto Section Omega, a vast laboratory filled with complex equipment. Scientists and technicians moved about, studying readouts and adjusting instruments. At the center of it all was a contained version of the spatial anomaly, held within a force field, pulsing with otherworldly energy. Banner's appearance caused little stir at first, another officer checking on the project. But as he moved purposefully toward the contained rift, a security officer stepped into his path. "Sir, this area is restricted to research personnel only." Banner didn't break stride. "I'm exactly where I need to be." Alarms began to sound throughout the station. The diversions created by the Jedi team had been discovered, security protocols activated, blast doors beginning to close automatically. "Intruder alert," announced a computerized voice. "All personnel to battle stations." Banner ran now, pushing past startled scientists as he made for the containment field housing the miniature rift. Security officers pursued, drawing blasters. The first shots went wide, striking equipment and walls, but one found its mark, hitting Banner in the shoulder, spinning him around. The pain triggered the transformation, but this time Banner didn't fight it. He embraced it, directing it, guiding the surge of energy through his body. The Force responded, flowing into him, through him. Not just the dark side feeding on rage, but the light as well, called forth by his determination to protect the Jedi who had helped him, to prevent the Empire from invading his homeworld. The Hulk emerged, but different than before. His green skin glowed with an inner light, his eyes clear and focused rather than clouded by rage. And when he spoke, it was with a voice that blended Banner's articulation with the Hulk's power. "I am not your weapon," he declared to the terrified Imperial personnel. "I am my own." Security forces poured into the laboratory, blasters firing. The shots struck the transformed being, but instead of causing pain, they seemed to be absorbed, converted into force energy that swirled around him in a visible aura, neither light nor dark but perfectly balanced. The Hulk moved with purpose now, not the blind destruction of before but precisely calculated actions. He disabled security personnel with careful taps that left them unconscious but unharmed. He dismantled weapons rather than destroying them outright. And all the while, he moved closer to the contained rift. A squad of stormtroopers in specialized armor entered, deploying energy nets and sonic disruptors designed specifically to combat Force users. But they had been designed for Jedi or Sith, not for the unique amalgamation of Banner and the Hulk, science and force, matter and energy that now confronted them. The Hulk gestured, and the Force responded. Not telekinesis as a Jedi might use it, but a wave of pure energy that disrupted the specialized weapons, rendering them useless. Another gesture, and the stormtroopers were pushed back, pinned against walls by invisible pressure. "The containment field," the Hulk said to a cowering scientist. "Shut it down." The man scrambled to obey, entering commands with shaking hands. The force field around the miniature rift flickered and died. Immediately, the anomaly began to expand, its pull increasing as it reverted to its natural state. Loose equipment started to slide toward it, then lighter objects began to lift off surfaces. The artificial gravity of the station fought against the rift's growing influence, creating a chaotic environment where normal physics no longer applied. A new presence entered the laboratory, heavy mechanical breathing, audible even over the alarms and confusion. Darth Vader strode forward, his lightsaber already ignited. "Impressive," the Sith Lord said. "You have learned much in a short time." The Hulk turned to face him. "I've learned enough to know this power doesn't belong to you or your Emperor, and neither do I." "You could have been a valuable ally," Vader said. "Now you will be destroyed." They clashed in a contest of power unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Lightsaber met force-enhanced fists, dark side lightning countered by balanced force energy. The very structure of the station groaned under the strain of their battle, systems failing, gravity fluctuating wildly. But the rift continued to grow, its pull becoming inexorable. Vader was forced to anchor himself with the Force to avoid being drawn in. The Hulk stood his ground, feeling the call of his home dimension growing stronger. "It's over, Vader," he said. "This station is done for. The rift will collapse once I'm gone." "Then I will ensure you do not leave," Vader replied, renewing his assault with dark side energies. The Hulk absorbed the attack, converting it, redirecting it. "You don't understand yet. I'm not trying to escape you." He gestured at the failing systems around them, the critical warnings flashing on every console. "I'm saving you from me." With that, he released his resistance to the rift's pull. His massive body lifted off the deck, drawn toward the swirling vortex of space and time. Vader reached out with the Force, trying to hold him back, but the combined mass and momentum was too great to counter. The Hulk gave one final salute to his adversary as he passed into the rift. The anomaly flashed with blinding light, expanded to fill the laboratory, then collapsed in upon itself with a thunderclap of imploding energy. Where it had been, only empty space remained. Throughout the station, systems began to stabilize, the immediate danger passing with the collapse of the rift. Vader stood motionless for a long moment, staring at the space where the incredible being had vanished. "Lord Vader," a nervous officer approached. "We've captured 3 intruders attempting to reach the hangar bay. They appear to be Jedi." Vader turned slowly. "Bring them to me." In the station's detention area, Jace, Moro, and Dral sat in separate cells, force-suppressing restraints binding their wrists. They had fought valiantly but been overwhelmed by numbers. Now they awaited interrogation, torture, and eventually execution. The cell block doors opened, and Darth Vader entered, his imposing figure filling the narrow corridor. He stopped before Moro's cell, sensing her stronger connection to Banner. "Your ally has escaped," he informed her, "but you will not share his fate." Moro looked up, her expression serene despite her circumstances. "Did he make it home?" "The anomaly is gone," Vader replied, "as is he." A small smile touched Moro's lips, then "Our mission was a success." "A temporary victory," Vader countered. "The Emperor is most displeased. Your rebellion has cost him a valuable asset." "Not an asset," Moro corrected. "A person. With his own destiny." "A destiny now fulfilled," Vader said. He turned to the guards. "Prepare them for transport to Coruscant. The Emperor wishes to interrogate them personally." As Vader departed, the Jedi exchanged glances. Their situation was dire, but a sense of accomplishment lingered. They had helped Banner find his way home, and prevented the Empire from exploiting him or his dimension. A worthy sacrifice. In another universe, in a crater on the outskirts of a city called New York, Bruce Banner regained consciousness. He was naked and disoriented, but the familiar skyline told him he was home. The memory of his interdimensional journey was already fading like a dream, but certain lessons remained. He sat up, feeling different. The rage that had always simmered within him, threatening to erupt at the slightest provocation, was still there. But something had changed. There was a balance now, a harmony he had never before experienced. "The Force," he murmured, the word feeling right on his tongue though its meaning was beginning to slip away. He raised his hand, concentrating, trying to recapture the sensation of that other energy, that cosmic balance. For just a moment, he felt it, a whisper of something beyond his normal perception. Then it was gone, leaving only the certainty that the Hulk was still with him, but no longer against him. Banner stood, looking up at the stars, wondering if somewhere in that vast cosmos, in a galaxy far, far away, others were looking back. Then he turned and began the long walk back to civilization, at peace with himself for the first time in years. In the vastness of space, beyond the reach of scanners and sensors, a small piece of the dimensional rift remained, a tear in reality too minute to be detected. Through it, the faintest echo of the Force leaked into a universe that had never known its touch. A new power entering a world of heroes and monsters, its ultimate effects yet to be revealed. For the Force is eternal, and the balance between light and dark, creation and destruction, Banner and Hulk, continues on in infinite variations across the multiverse.